Welcome to our today's discussion. Today, we are doing division on the accounting errors and the suspense account. Accounting errors and the suspense account will be our topic of revision in this particular day. So I want you to take keen attention of the concept that I'm going to put across. I'm going to use the CHRP 004 past papers that have been tested on accounting errors so that I can be able to emphasize on the key areas that you need to understand so that you can be able to score very well when this question is tested. I want to share a few past paper questions that have been tested from that area. And we try to argue them out. These are errors and suspense account past paper questions. The first question there is a question that was tested in November 2022, and it appeared as question number 4A. And you are given this information that the trial balance extracted from the books of Haraka traders on 30th June 2021 showed a debit total of 491,400 and a credit total of 440,400. On examination, their books revealed the following. So we are given the two totals of the trial balance, the debit and the credit, but those totals are not the same. So there is a difference. Once there is a difference in the totals of the trial balance, we need to capture the difference in an account called the suspense account. The difference in the totals of the trial balance is normally temporarily recorded in an account called the suspense account. And then from there, we can go and correct all the errors. Then after all the errors have been rectified, then we can go and balance our suspense account, and actually it's supposed to self-balance. It is supposed to balance on itself. So in this question, the students were required to prepare the journal entries to correct the above errors, and also prepare a suspense account, So let's try it out. Hope you are able to take the screenshot of it. So that as we do it, you can also be able to follow that first question. Take a screenshot of it, and then we can go ahead and solve it out. So we go to the transaction or the errors that were revealed. Number one, the sales day book was overcast by 10,000. Remember, these errors are supposed to be corrected in the general journal, so we are supposed to come up with the journal entries. So let us prepare our general journal. It should have actually the date of the serial number of that particular transaction. The details, these are the accounts that will be affected, the debit entry and the credit entry. So let's say that this is our error number one. The sales day book. What you need to remember always is that sales account, whenever it is involved, it is normally credited. Sales account is always credited when we sell goods. Whichever way, whether it is by cash or by check or by credit, sales account is supposed to be credited. And in this case, we have been told that the sales day book has been overcasted. An overcast simply means that we have recorded excess amount. And note sales is always credited. So this excess, it is on the credit side of sales account. And when you are given overcast, your task is very simple. You need to reverse the extra amount. You need to reverse the overstated amount. And if an account was credited, to reverse the extra amount or to cancel the extra amount, we need to debit. You record on the other side. If the figure was overstated on the credit, you reverse or cancel the excess on the debit. If it was an overcast on the debit, you reverse or cancel the excess by crediting that same account. Having agreed that sales account is always credited, so what we do, we need to debit sales so that we can remove the extra amount that was credited. We can reverse the extra amount that was credited there of 10,000. So we shall debit sales by 10,000, and then we shall involve an account called suspense of 10,000. That error is corrected. You can have a very brief narration there, being a sales overcast, now corrected. Number 2, goods costing 8,000 had been taken by Mr. Haraka for personal use. Once you hear the word personal use, any resource taken from the business for personal use, that one we record in an account called drawings on the debit side. It should be debited on the debit side. And this time, they are in form of goods. They are reducing the purchases. Let's continue and see. No record was made this effect. So it is an error of omission. It is an error of omission. So we are not going to involve suspense. So what will happen when you take any resource from the business, you debit drawings, you credit what you have taken. In this case, they were goods, so we shall credit the purchases. These goods that we debited in the purchases account for sale, they have been taken by the owner for personal use. So they are reducing, or this drawing is reducing the purchases. We credit the purchases. So we shall debit drawings by the value of the goods, 8,000. Then credit purchases by 8,000. Being an error of omission, corrected. So note that anytime the owner takes goods for personal use, it reduces purchases. Purchases that were debited, now we credit because it is going to be a decrease on that account. Number 3, cash discount amounting to 6,000 allowed by a creditor was debited to the discount allowed account. When a creditor gives the business a discount, that discount is normally considered to be discount received. It is a discount received, and the discount received should be credited in the discount received account. Should be credited in the discount received account. It should not be considered as a discount allowed. Discount allowed is an expense when the business allows that discount to the customers. So in this case, what we shall do, because we are told was debited to the discount allowed. What do? We come here and say, because discount allowed was debited, we shall credit the discount allowed. What else? The discount received was supposed to be credited. So we shall have 2 credits there. So which account are we going to debit? The reason as why we are crediting discount allowed is because it was erroneously debited. So we credit to cancel the wrong debit that was made in that account. Then we credit the discount received because this is the correct account to be credited. So we shall have 2 credits. But don't forget, the journal entries that are normally prepared here, we always start with the account to be debited. So the account that will be debited will be an account called suspense. We shall debit the suspense account by twice the money that is involved there. So it is going to be 12,000. So what do we do next? We come here and we credit the discount allowed by 6,000. We also credit the discount received of 6,000. So discount allowed and discount received, when we sum them, they give us 12,000. That's why our suspense account is 12,000, so that it can be the other entry for these two credits. Remember, the journal entries are prepared on the basis of double entry. The amount that is credited should always be the same as the amount to be debited. So that one is sorted like that. Number four, a payment of shillings 5,000 for carriage on sales was debited the carriage inwards account. Was debited to the carriage inwards account. Remember, when you do carriage on sales, that is what we call carriage outwards. Carriage on sales is carriage outwards. And carriage on purchases is what we call carriage inwards. So if this one was carriage on sales, it was supposed to be debited in carriage inwards, carriage outwards, sorry. It was supposed to be debited in carriage outwards. So we do that. We debit the carriage outward, which is an expense. All expenses are debited, 5,000. Then we are told it was debited to carriage inwards. Carriage inwards, having been debited erroneously, we shall credit it. We shall credit the carriage inwards of 5,000. That is sorted. We are not going to involve the suspense account. When we debit the correct account and we credit the wrong account, there is no need for the suspense account. Number 5. A balance in the personal account of M. Hamadi, a debtor, was not included in the list of debtors in the trial balance. The problem there is that they never gave us the balance. They never gave us the balance. They have just said the balance in the personal account of M. Hamadi, a debtor, was not included in the list of debtors in the trial balance. So the problem, they have not given us that figure, so that one will not be used here. Then Roman 6. During the year, Mr. Haraka sold his personal computer for 50,000 and paid the proceeds to the firm's bank account. This was only recorded in the cash book. What does that mean? The personal vehicle that the owner had, personal computer rather, the personal computer worth 50,000, the owner had sold it or was sold. And then this 50,000 was deposited in the business bank account. Then we are told that this was only recorded in the cash book. So in the cash book, to the business, it is going to be money in. The owner has brought in more money. And this money is in form of capital. Anytime an owner brings his or her own asset to the business, that is an additional capital. Capital should be credited. So we should have credited capital and debited the cash book. Cash book here, it is simply cash and bank. Either cash or bank combined, we call them the cash book. But we are told it was only recorded in the cash book. So in the cash book, everything is okay. It is only that we did not credit capital. We did not credit capital. So the accounts to be involved here is suspense, debit, by 50,000. Then you credit capital by 50,000. That is sorted. Then lastly, a new warehouse was built at a cost of 50,000, including materials costing that 5,000 and labor 15,000. The material cost was generalized through The material cost was generalized through the purchases book and wages debited in the ordinary wages account. So what is the issue here? Bid, a new warehouse was built at a cost of 50,000 shillings. Including, or this 50,000 includes material costing that 5,000 and labor costing 15,000. Then we are told that the material cost was generalized through the purchases book and wages debited in the ordinary wages account. So in this case, the 35,000 for materials should not go to the purchases, should not go to the purchases account. Why? Because purchases, we only record those items that are meant for sale. This one was supposed to be recorded in that particular asset account. We could have debited the warehouse. The same case, labor. That one is a cost for a fixed asset. Then anything that is meant for a fixed asset should be taken to be the cost of that asset. So this 50,000 should be debited in the warehouse account or the building account. It should be debited in the building account. So what are we going to do? We come here and debit the building or warehouse account. That is the cost for having it done. And then we put here 50. So where they were wrongly entered, we credit. Where they were wrongly entered, we credit. So we shall credit the purchases because materials were wrongly debited there by 35,000. Then we shall credit also the wages account by 15,000 because those are not wages. This is a cost on our fixed asset. It should be debited on that fixed asset account. So that is how the journal entries look like. Any cost for fixed asset, it should go there. When you are acquiring and installing a fixed asset, any cost that is going to be attached to that transaction should be capitalized in that asset account. So they should come here. They should not go to purchases because those materials are not for sale. They should not go to labor or wages because that labor, it is not the labor for running the business. It is the labor for acquiring a building. It should be considered to be a cost for that particular building. And that is the end of the journal entries. That is the end of the journal entries. How are you supposed to come up with your suspense account? Your suspense account should just be a simple T account. It should be just a simple T account. Then from there, we need to get the difference in the trial balance totals because we are told that the debit total was 491,400. Let's take 491,400. Then we subtract the totals of the credit, which is 440. You realize that the difference is 51,000, and it is the debit side that had more because it had 491,400. The credit was having 440,400. The difference in the trial balance totals is normally placed on the side with the less. It should therefore go to the credit. Go to the credit, the balance brought down of 51,000. The balance brought down of 51,000. And then you will come and consider the errors that we have here. Like, for example, the first one, suspense has been credited 10,000. Suspense has been credited here by 10,000. So you go to the credit side of your suspense account and record there using the name of the other account that is sales 10,000. Sales 10,000. So why have we used sales? Because in the other account that is affected is sales. In the second one, we don't record that because there is no suspense. In the third one, suspense is debited by 12,000. So we debit here using discount allowed 6,000. Discount received 6,000, like that. So the 6,000 makes it 12,000 that we have here. Suspense account has been debited, so we debit and we use capital. 50,000. Capital of 50,000. Here we don't have suspense. But remember, there is an entry or a transaction that we were not given the amount. And that one will make our suspense account not to self-balance because we are not given the amounts in that particular transaction. That transaction that was supposed to be number 5, it had no value. So that question had an issue and the HRM PEB did not set it properly. So that's why it's not balancing. But otherwise, when we are given the figure that is making the totals of the trial balance not to balance, that suspense account should balance on itself without having the balance carried down. Without having balance carried down. That is all for that question. That is all for that question. Let us proceed and look at the second question. We look at the second question. The second question was tested in June 2019, and it was again question number 4A. It was question number 4A, where the candidates were required to prepare the journal entries to correct the transactions above. So the transactions are highlighted there. Again, you can take the screenshot of that particular question so that I can share the board. So we are told that an accounts assistant employed by Mishak Enterprises committed the following errors in the books of accounts in the month of January 2019. The errors were committed there. And you are told you prepare the journal entries. You prepare the journal entries. It is simple. Come again here and prepare your general journal. Prepare your general. The number, the details, the DR, the CR. Error number 1, it says this: failed to record purchase worth 25,000 bought on credit from Campesa Limited. Failed to record. That is an error of omission, which does not require suspense. It doesn't require suspense. So what do you do with the error of omission? You just post the transaction the way they could have been posted if they were to be posted in the ledger accounts. So when you purchase, always you debit the purchases. Always you debit the purchases. So we should debit purchases by 25,400. Then we credit the supplier, who is Campesa Limited, by 25,400. As simple as that. You record it. If we could have posted them in the ledger accounts, purchases could have been debited. That's why the figure is on the debit side. Campesa being a supplier is a liability, we could have credited by 25,400. The second one is entered a sale of 46,000 on the debit side of Joshua's account instead of recording in Josea's account. We sold goods to Josea, but we made a mistake and recorded in Joshua. One thing that you need to recall here is that when you sell goods on credit, sales as usual will be credited, then you debit the customer. But the problem, we debited the wrong customer. We debited Joshua instead of debiting Josiah. So what do? Debit the correct customer by the value of that transaction, 46,000. Then you credit the wrong account that was debited, Joshua. Remember, Joshua was debited. We cancel or reverse that entry there by crediting his account of 46. That is sorted. Number 3. The account of Jebu, a creditor was debited with 14,700, while the account of Amani, a debtor, was credited with 14,700. What are we trying to say here? The account of Jebu, a creditor, was debited. You cannot debit creditor. A creditor is always credited. A creditor, you have bought goods or an item from the person on credit. You credit. Always remember that, students. When you buy something on credit, you debit what you have bought, credit the supplier who has sold the item on credit to you. So Jebu, being a creditor, was supposed to be credited. And then you are told, while the account of Amani, a debtor, was credited. No, was credited. Why credit a debtor? A debtor arises when we sell goods on credit. When you sell goods on credit, credit sales as usual, debit the debtor. Debit the debtor. So this is like a compensating error. What do you do in that case? The account that was supposed to be debited, you debit. Who is Amani? Debit Amani by 14,700. The creditor, who is Jebu, should be credited. Sorry, here we need to argue something. Yeah? There is some sort of reversal. There is some sort of reversal. Let's go back again. The account of Jebu, a creditor, was debited. But remember, that account was supposed to be credited. When we do a wrong entry in the correct account, that is the correct account, but the figure is entered on the wrong account, we take it to the correct side by doubling the amount. By doubling the amount. So here we should have 14,700. We multiply by 2, which is 29,400. 29,400. Why have we doubled? That is a question. Why have we doubled? We have doubled because there is a wrong entry on the credit. Amani was credited. Amani was credited. So there is 14,700 wrongly entered on the credit side. So if we just debit by 14,700, we could have just cancelled and we have not entered that amount. When there is a reversal, we are doing two things at the same time, cancelling and recording. So the first figure is for cancelling, and then the second portion is for recording. That's why we are doubling. That's why we are doubling. 29,400. The same case with Jebu, the figure was debited wrongly, so we are taking it to the credit. But first of all, we cancel the 14,700, then we record 14,700. We have used 14,700 twice, and that's why we double. So we record here 29,400. 29,400. 29,400. Note why we have doubled. Because the figure, there is an error, or there's a figure that is erroneously recorded on the opposite side. We need to cancel it first before we post. Number 4. Number 4, a cash sale of 5650 was entered in the books as 6550. So there is an overcast there, 6550 minus 5650 gives us 900 overcast. But where a cash sale of 5650 was entered in the books. In the books simply means both the debit entry and the credit entry, there was an overcast of 900. When you sell goods on cash, my friends, debit cash, you credit sales. Sales has no otherwise, should be credited when it is involving goods. We credit sales, we debit cash, because cash will be coming in from the sales. The question here is now, it is an overcast. We did so, but we did with an extra 900. So sales, we recorded 900 extra on the credit. We need to reverse the 900. So sales will be debited in this era by 900. to reverse the 900 that was wrongly credited. In accounting, to reverse an amount, put it on the opposite side. Because we know sales was credited, so we are reversing the 900 by debiting. And then cash was debited, but debited with 900 extra. So we credit cash to reverse the 900 extra on the debit. Like that. Lastly, number 5. Recorded motor vehicle expenses of that 6,700 in motor vehicle account. That is an error of principle. Motor vehicle expenses are not supposed to be recorded in motor vehicle. So what do? They are supposed to be treated as expenses, and expenses are always debited. So you can write here motor vehicle expenses. They were supposed to be debited of 36,700. Then you credit motor vehicle by 36,700. Why have we credited motor vehicle? Because we had wrongly debited. So we are reversing the wrong debit that was made there. We treated these expenses as debit entry in motor vehicle. So we need to remove that debit entry. So we are reversing and therefore should be credited. Then we debit the correct account, which is motor vehicle expenses. So that question did not require a suspense account, and the students were supposed to stop at that point. Students were supposed to stop at that point. That is 29,400. Just that, and you score your 10 marks. Accounting errors is all about you cancel where it is wrongly entered, take it to where it is supposed to be, or you cancel the amount that is excess from the ledger accounts, or you add the overcasted amount on the sides of the accounts that are affected. That is all about the accounting errors, and it is something that you can enjoy. Let us briefly have a look at the last question in that document, question number 3. Question number 3. Question number 3 occurred on November 2019, question 2A. And it is that the trial balance of stopper traders did not balance as at 31st December 2017. The debits exceeded the credits. That information is very crucial because we shall use it in the suspense account. The debit exceeded the credits by 90,000. The debits exceeded the credit. So it is the credit that had less, and that balance should be on the side that has less. So it should be on the credit side. It should be on the credit side. You are required to do a suspense account. You are required to do a suspense account. But before we do a suspense account, I will find it appropriate if we do the journal entries, even if they were not required. Then from there, we go to the suspense account. Let us do it here, the journal entries. So we have the serial number of the transaction. We have the details, the debit, and the credit. So let us look at how the entries work. The first one is that sales were undercasted by 40,000. sales were undercasted by 40,000. Undercast simply means we recorded less. So, and we know that sales is normally credited. So on the credit side of sales, this amount of 40,000 is missing. So we add it there. When it is an undercast, you put it on that side that has less. Sales is always credited. It was credited with an undercast of 40,000. So we credit again. So the account that will be debited here will be the suspense. We debit the suspense. Don't forget the rule of the game. Always start with the account to be debited first, and then below it, you record the account to be credited. 40,000, like that. That is the rule of journal entries. Debit first before you credit. Debit first before you credit. Number 2, rent receivable was recorded as 127,000 instead of 271. Rent receivable, the same as discount received, those are incomes or revenues and should be credited. They should be credited. But now the problem here, we credited with a wrong figure. Instead of 271,000, we credited 127. So we credited by 144,000 less. We credited by 144,000 less. So the account to be debited in that case, it is the suspense by 144,000. Then we credit the rent receivable by 144,000. By 144,000. So you need to note those things. This the revenues, the expenses, and all that. How do we treat them? Revenues are supposed to be credited, but in this case, the rent receivable, the discount received, commission received, interest received, all those are revenues. They should be credited. We credited, yes, but with an undercast. When it is an undercast, if the account was to be credited, credit again with the undercast amount. That is what we have done there. Number 3, a check of 377,000 was recorded in the cash book as 773,000. Instead of 377, was recorded in the cash book as 773. Cash book here, we treat this one as a check received. When we receive a check, we debit the cash book. Receipts are normally on the debit side. So here, instead of 377, we recorded by 773 minus 377. We recorded by 396,000 extra. That is an overcast. That is an overcast. When it's an overcast, if the bank was debited by excess, we cancel the excess by crediting, and therefore we shall debit the suspense. We shall debit the suspense with the 396,000. Then we credit the bank by 396,000. Number 4. John, a debtor, had bought goods worth 180,000. This transaction was recorded on the credit side of his account. I told you, and I was going to tell you again, when we sell goods to a debtor or a customer, the debtor should be debited. We credit sales. But in this, John, who is a debtor, this figure was recorded on the credit side. It should not be on the credit. It should be on the debit. But now, there is some issue of reversal here. There is partial reversal here. John was supposed to be debited. We have done what? We have credited. So we have got a responsibility of canceling the credit entry and posting it again on the debit entry. How do we cancel the credit entry? We shall debit John's account. And then we debit again by recording. We debit this amount 180,000 to cancel. We debit again 180,000 to record. So we shall debit 180,000 twice on John's account to cancel and to record. So we shall come here, debit John by 360,000. Then we credit the suspense by 360,000. So in this error, it is only an error in John's account. That's why we are correcting John's account, and then we invoke the suspense account. We don't have any other account. And that's where suspense account is used. When an error is affecting a single account, you correct that single account, then you invoke the suspense account to complete the double entry. Number 5, return outwards. Those are known as the purchases returns, and they should be credited. Purchases returns are credited in the purchases returns account. Sales returns are debited in the sales returns account or return inward. So once you have known as they are returned outwards, just know they were supposed to be credited. Was understated by 48,000. When you understate an account, if it was credited, you credit again. So we shall credit number 5. We shall credit return outwards by 48,000. Then we debit, we shall I've done the opposite. We were supposed to debit the suspense account because return outwards was supposed to be credited by 48,000. Since it is an undercast, return outwards are normally credited. We had credited, yes, but we credited with an undercast. So that's why we are crediting it again with 48,000 to add the undercast that is missing on the credit side. Number 6. The totals of discount allowed amounting to 110,000 were not posted to the general ledger. Were not posted to the general ledger. The totals of discount allowed amounting to 110,000 were not posted to the general ledger. So discount allowed is like it was not recorded, and it is an expense. What do? Expenses are debited. So we needed to debit the discount allowed of 110,000. Then we credit the suspense by 110,000. Discount allowed is missing. Lastly, purchase of office furniture of 248,000 was recorded in the cash book only. It was recorded in the cash book only, meaning that it was not debited in the furniture account. It was not debited in the furniture account. Furniture account was supposed to be debited. So we debit office furniture. We debit office furniture by 248,000. Then we credit the suspense by 248,000. Those are the journal entries. Those are the journal entries. So it was on the cash book only. When you buy something, you pay, you credit cash, you debit what you have bought. But we never did this. So we debit what we bought. Then because already cash has been credited, we credit the suspense account. Hope you have observed what we have done here. Always in your general journal or journal entries, it must start with the account to be debited, then to be credited. Account to be debited, then to be credited. The account to be debited should be at the top of the account to be credited always. That is the rule. That is the rule. Let us now prepare the suspense account. Let us prepare the suspense account. The suspense account, once you have these entries or the journal entries, it becomes very easy. Like the first one, suspense account, you just go close, it has been debited. So you need to come here. But before we record them, let us consider the difference in the trial balance. We are told the trial balance of stopper traders did not balance on 31st December 2017. The debits exceeded the credits. The debits exceeded the credit. So the credit had less. When it is the credit that has less, that figure should be captured there. That figure on the difference on the trial balance totals should be on the side that had less. The debits exceeded the credits. So the credits were having less. So you put that figure there. Balance brought down 90,000 on the credit because it is the side that had less. Then from there, you consider now the journal entries transaction. You consider the journal entries transaction. The first one, suspense has been debited by 40,000. We use the name of the other account, sales of 40,000. The next one, suspense again has been debited. The other account is receivable. Rent receivable of 144,000. The other account here, suspense has been debited. The other account is bank. 396,000. The next account, suspense has been credited by 360,000. So we just go to the credit side. The other account here is John. 360,000. Next here, suspense has been debited by 48,000. The other account is returned outwards. After here, debit, the suspense returned outwards of 48,000. The next one here, suspense has been credited by 110,000. Suspense has been credited by 110,000. The other account is discount allowed. The discount allowed 110,000. And lastly, suspense has been credited by 248,000. By 248,000. Yeah. So the other account is office furniture. 248,000. Then this account should self-balance. This account should self-balance. So it should be like that. You realize that is 90,000 plus 360,000 plus 110,000 plus 248. That is on the credit side, 808,000. This side has also 808,000. That is the end of it. That is the end of that suspense account. So the question was requiring you to do only the suspense account. If you can do it without involving the general journal, well and good. But if you feel like you need to do it so that it can guide you to prepare this, well and good. Nobody will penalize you. So you can do using any approach. With that, we come to the end of our today's tutorial. I want to wish you all the best as you prepare for your exams. So don't forget to always subscribe to the channel and also like and share with your friends so that they can also benefit from this video. For now, goodbye.